Let's see. We are live. Happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday, Gordana. How are you?
Happy Sunday, Lucas. Happy Sunday, everyone. Oh, I'm doing great. It's so hot in Sweden right now. So it's summertime and I love hot weather. So it's okay. I am doing good.
Oh, good. Good. I love that we are color coordinated again today. So that's good.
I
Oh,
love that.
dreams.
The,
So I'm so excited to get into this. We had company over last night
mm,
and I went, um, my friend owns a supplement shop and I was spending time with him earlier this week. And I asked him if he has dreams. I said, because I have had these such intense dreams lately. And he goes, I don't really
mm,
dream. And I was like, oh, okay, well, no problem. I said, I used to not
mm.
really remember my dreams either, but I've had so many vivid dreams. And last night they came over for dinner. He's like, guess what? I was like, what? He's like, after you asked me if I dream, he was like, yeah. He was like, I don't know. I don't remember my dreams. But since you've asked me, I've had the most intense dreams. I'm like,
Mm.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's like when you put your consciousness to it, when your awareness is on dreams, you start dreaming much more. It's like when you go to bed and you say, I want to remember my dreams, you will remember more and more. It's like working a muscle, I think. But it's amazing how few people remember their dreams.
Mm.
So I remember a lot of my dreams. I haven't always remembered my dreams. I think that when I'm too busy in the everyday life, I remember less.
Mm.
And if I'm not as busy in my everyday life, then my dream world starts to kind of become more real and I remember more things. It's like it becomes more coherent in a ways that I can remember it. It's like the language changes when I'm not so much in my ego during the day. When I'm relaxed and I'm exploring reality, my dreams become almost the same as my real world, so to speak, as easy to follow, I might say. So I don't know why people, what do you think? Do people dream, remember their dreams more today than they did before?
The more people I talk to about dreams, I think people are remembering their dreams
Mm,
more. I know the practice of lucid dreaming is a practice that people are intentionally starting. I was trying
mm,
to practice lucid dreaming and I have yet to click into a full lucid
mm,
dream where I'm aware in the dream and I can move
mm,
within the dream.
mm,
But I hear people are dreaming more that they've never, I used to not remember my dreams except for these intense nightmares or,
mm,
life-changing things growing up. But
mm. But
dreams,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
just saying that something's communicating to us in the dream
Yes.
realm right now.
Yeah. I think it's always been communicating with us. I think actually it's our higher selves or our collective higher selves that speaks to us. I I've spent this morning here thinking about what are dreams actually? Why are we dreaming? What's the purpose of dreaming? And even though I mean, I roamed the internet trying to find some kind of answers, and I think that the answers come when you sit down and just relax. So I did that. And I think there are two things that dreams, or there are two aspects of dreams. One is, the dreams that we do not remember. I think that they're like a virus program cleaning your mind from everything that happened to you during the day. So it's like a cleansing or removing tool. The dreams that we do not remember are these. Then there are dreams, significant dreams that we do remember. And I think that these dreams are like oracles, like a divination tool, because they speak to you in symbols, and symbols are more like an interdimensional language, which we can use, our higher self can use to speak to us. A symbol can be filled with the meaning that you give it. So if you dream of a house and I dream of a house, that might be different meanings that we're giving to the symbol of the house. So
Mm.
when you have an oracle, like a divination tool, let's say that you use the tarot cards, it's the same thing. When you fill the symbol with your meaning, and that's how your higher self communicates with you. And
Mm.
since everything is always changing, I think that the meaning can change. If you, let's say that you go back and you think about a dream you had 10 years ago, and then you look at it from your perspective today, you might find new answers in that dream. So I
Mm.
think that, as I say, two things that dreams actually do for us. One is to cleanse our mind from all the static from the day. And then there are the significant ones that we do remember, that are like a tool to be used to
Yeah.
communicate to your higher self. And I can't tell you what your dream is. I can inspire you to look at certain things. I can look at it from an objective perspective,
Yeah.
but I cannot tell you what your dream meant to you, and you can't tell me what my dream meant to me.
Right.
So what I think is that we are too tired when we go to bed,
Mm.
so that we sleep very, very deeply. And even if we do dream things that are messages to us, we are too tired to remember them, and
Mm.
we do not pay attention to it. As when your friend, you told him, do you dream? And he said no, and then he started paying attention and he
Yes.
started dreaming. So
Yes.
it's always there. It's like a portal. This oracle we have is there all the time. It's a
Mm.
question of becoming more aware of, what is it that how do I want to use it? Do I just allow it to cleanse my mind, or clean all the stuff that you have in your mind? Or do I want to go deeper? Do I want to kind of get into the next dimension and literally speak to myself?
Yeah.
This language that it uses is, it's based on emotions, it's based on images. So that is why, I mean, it's not words, it is communicating through a different channel with us. It's not through the words. It uses the creative part of the brain, so it cannot speak to you through words. This is
Right.
why we see it in images. This is
Yes.
why we are immersed in the feeling of it.
Yes.
So just becoming more aware of that can help us to use this divine tool that we are gifted with.
Right. I'll talk about, I've had two dreams in the past week that very intense, very intense.
Mm,
And I think that I'll tell you what I think it's related to, and then I'll talk about the dream. But I think the United States, well, I know, I feel it is coiled so tight right now, and I don't think
mm,
people want to acknowledge how tight it is
mm,
coiled, because it's uncomfortable. What does that actually mean, that it's
mm,
coiled so tight?
mm,
I mean, this is the only country in world history that had a civil war that 650,000 of its own citizens fought each other.
mm,
It's this, and that's, it is coiled really tight. And I think people, because they're numbed by the media trance, they don't understand to look around and say, well, what does that mean for the people that don't want to go along with
mm,
this narrative? And are those people soft, or are they strong? And are those people, I mean, there's this, and it is coiled incredibly tight.
mm,
I had this dream last week where I am in a high-rise building with my wife and children, and the kinetic energy, there is war in the street, and it's at night, and people are moving incredibly fast. It's happening fast, like people are running and moving, and
mm,
this kinetic energy is moving. We were safe, but I felt that clench in my stomach, like keep my head on a swivel. And I woke
mm,
up. And I rarely wake up in the middle of the night. If I wake up in the middle of the night from a dream, I know it was a really intense dream. And I woke up from this dream. I'm like, what is that? And I'm not yet sure fully, but the next day I went up to this brewery, and I talked to these guys, and I'm like, what do you think about things happening right now in this country? And these guys were like, like, I don't know, they were incredibly intense, but I
mm,
respected it because they were very clear
mm,
in what they believed in. They believed in freedom and sovereignty
mm,
and what some in this country would deem as redneck,
mm,
far right, but they were talking about freedom. And
mm.
I'm looking at these people and I'm thinking about my dream. And I don't know what to do with it or what it actually means, but
Mm,
I coincidentally happened to talk to a guy who was like what I felt like was that coiled side.
mm,
I don't know. It's just dreams are so bizarre. Maybe I was being prepared to have this conversation with the guy. Maybe,
mm.
maybe not, but I think I feel something is coming. I don't know if it's coming in the spiritual realm, in the energetic
Yeah,
field, or if it's
yeah.
actually physical kinetic energy, but
Mm. I think that um, I've asked myself this question about nightmares because this is a nightmare that you're describing. And
mm,
why are we dreaming nightmares? What's the purpose of a nightmare? And I think that when you are, um, the way we're supposed to explore this reality is with an open heart, an
mm,
open mind, in through our soul space. Our soul wants to explore this reality. And if the reality on the outside is mirroring back danger, fear, horrific things going on that are out of your control,
mm,
in the night, your ego will project these images to you, and the soul will say, look at these images. This is an illusion. You need to go through this illusion in order to align with who you truly are.
mm,
So I think that that might be the purpose of nightmares, to show us that you are too much in your ego state during the day. If
mm,
you are in fear, you're in ego state. It's the ego mind driving you. If you're in victimhood, ego mind. If you are in a psychotic, it's ego mind always. So a nightmare will project this ego image, and your job is to walk through it
mm,
because you will always survive. It's an illusion. The funny thing is that the real world works the same way. When you walk through a fear, when you walk through something that scares you, you find yourself on the other side alive,
yes,
and everything is fine.
yes,
So it's maybe a way, our soul's way of showing us that there is no fear. Look at this, go through this. It's just a dream. It's okay. You will wake up.
yeah,
I remember many years ago, I dreamt of gigantic spiders in my home. They were all over the place. They were running everywhere. And I do not like spiders. I really don't like spiders. And
yeah,
I was like, I was so scared that I couldn't even breathe in my dream. And then in this dream, I had a voice telling me, use the frying pan. They're afraid of it. So I stretched out, picked up a frying pan, and started hitting them. And in that moment, I felt like, why am I doing this? They don't mean any harm. They live here. So I
mm, mm,
stopped hitting them with this frying pan, and I allowed them to be where they were. I just started breathing through it. And the dream left, and I could sleep. So it was a way for me to explore things that I would not be able to explore in the real life ever. I would not be able to do it, but I did it there. So I realized that, okay, there are spiders in my garden and they're going to climb through the window into my home. And that's the way it is. And I can't do anything about it because they're alive and I'm alive. And they do not mean any harm and I don't mean any harm. So we just kind of, there was a truce,
yeah,
peace between us.
yeah, right.
And you know what? The spiders stopped coming into my window, not as many as they were before. So it was a question of kind of tuning in or tuning out of the fear. I think all the nightmares have to do with tuning out of the fear, realizing that you're in control of everything. There is nothing on the outside that you need to fear
Mm,
but fear itself. And I don't remember who said this actually, but
yeah,
there
Gregor
is nothing to fear.
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
nothing to fear but fear itself.
yeah,
So all these fearful nightmares are actually a signal or a reminder that there is something that you are focused on that is of a too low frequency for you during the daytime. You need to go through it, look it in the eye, and you can do that in your dream. You can look them in the eye and still stay alive. Even if you die in a dream, you will still wake up alive in the morning. I think the real world works the same way, and that is why it is showing us these layers of reality, because I think that the dreams are a part of our information field. We walk around with an information field that is connected interdimensionally, third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and higher.
Yeah.
And you have to go through all the layers of these dimensions, and dreams are actually one of those layers. So when we become more aware of the language that our own soul uses to speak to us, we can start using that language. So for you, the dream that you were talking about is, I would see it as, there is too much focus on the tension in your world. You need to phase out of that tension and start focusing on how you can find places where you can relax.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Maybe
That's a great point.
Yeah, because that's where you have the control, so to speak.
Right. Well, I was the people that came over last night, we were talking about parallel timelines, watching Loki. You suggested watching Loki.
Yeah.
And Man in the High Castle on Amazon Prime is all about parallel timelines and the multiverse and different timelines. And I said last night, like, what if, because I shared this dream and another dream, what if that dream is a parallel timeline? And what if these dreams come to us to keep us on the timeline that we want, and not jump the timeline that is that it could be like a warning, like, oh, I felt that timeline exist. And I love the idea of dimensionally ascending consciousness, but also, like, what if this is really wild concept, but what if all these parallel timelines exist and I am choosing this peace and love and goodness and kindness and all the things on my wall, which I want to bring to this world.
Yes. It's about the choice. It's about respecting your free will, and your dreams are actually showing you, okay, so are you really choosing now? Are you aware of the choice? Look at this. This could be a part of it, but are you aware of the choice? I'll tell you about a dream I had last night, which was, I could not understand it when I woke up, and I totally get it right now. I was dreaming that I was standing on an assembly line, like in the factories where like in the Charlie Chaplin film where he's doing this. And I was standing there. I wasn't working. I was just the observer. And on the assembly line, and this was horrific, actually, there were babies, small babies, and they were swishing so fast that I couldn't pick a baby up. I wanted to pick them up and just throw them off so that they wouldn't, because this assembly line was going straight into nothingness, and they fell off. And I was so stressed out of this. I wanted to save as many babies as I could. And I was so stressed out. And this was the dream. Babies, assembly line falling off. And that scared me, because I was thinking, why am I dreaming such a horrific dream? Why would I dream something like this about babies? And then I started asking myself, okay, so I need to look at what are the signs here. The sign is baby, assembly line, falling down. Those are the three components of it. So what does this baby symbolize for me? It's not baby, children, my child. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the traits that a child has. And it is innocence, it is purity, curiosity, love. It is all the vulnerable things, the subtle things in our reality. And I've been preoccupied with this, because I feel like when people are in fear, as they are globally now, the first thing that goes is the vulnerability, the subtleness, the art, the beauty. We've been talking about that. And these babies were the symbols of this, the most sublime, divine, sacred things. And they were just through technology, the assembly line, they were just falling off the cliff and disappearing. And I asked myself, why would I dream such a thing like that? And then it hit me. I need to focus on these traits because it is my focus on these beautiful, subtle energies that is lacking. I need to focus more on these traits. Otherwise, all the babies are going to fall off in my world. So I needed to focus myself into this. And this is why it was a nightmare, but it doesn't mean to scare you. It means to show you where you are putting your awareness and ask you the question, do you want to put it there? Or is it something else? And sometimes it needs to scare you out of the trance that you fall in during the day.
Yes. The trance.
So, yes, so understanding that the nightmares, it's not like there's someone wanting to punish you or inflict pain upon you. It is to wake you up. I remember a movie many years ago. I don't remember the name of the movie, but there was a man and he was in a boat. He was the only survivor from some kind of boat accident, and he was sleeping in the boat. And there was a storm coming, and he was asleep. And he dreamt that his wife came to him, and she was beautiful, and she was hovering over him, and that was his dream. And then suddenly she turns into this nightmarish woman, and she screams at him, "Wake up, wake up." And he wakes up because of the nightmare. And that's how he saved his life, because otherwise he would have died. So sometimes our nightmares are wake-up calls. They tell us you are in a too low frequency during the day. You need to shift your awareness into something. There is too much ego going on. You need to go into soul space. And that would be to, before we go to bed, to become very intentional with what we want to explore during the night. And when we start becoming more intentional, we also shift focus from all the fears and the bad stuff that we've been through the day and start focusing on, okay, so where do I want to go? Because the dream landscape is yours to choose. You can choose to explore heaven if you want to, but you need to do it with your will. You need to say, I want to explore something else than the nightmares that I'm exploring. What do I need to shift?
So good. As you're talking about this, I'm like, how often have I had a really pleasant dream? I don't know. I actually, thinking back, I don't recall. Usually my dreams are really mysterious or incredibly intense. Like, I'll grab this real quick. I think the very first dream live we did was about my dream where the wolf came out from behind the rock and grabbed me, started biting on me and chomping on me, but I didn't bleed, but it was tearing my flesh. And then I integrated the wolf, that I am the wolf, but I was always hunted in my home. And that actually got a lot of fear out of me, that I am the wolf. I am not a prey.
Yes,
I am equal to the predator, but I choose to not be a predator. I choose to protect those who can't protect themselves. But those are usually when my dreams are very intense, very life and death, very warlike, or I want beautiful. I want fields of flowers and waterfalls, but typically they are intense, very intense.
Yes, because maybe that is what you need in your reality in order to get the answers that to the questions that you're asking during the day. I had a dream many years ago, and I can't remember all the details, but I do remember the snake in the dream. It was like the biggest snake ever, and it was crawling towards me, and then it just kind of stood up, like a cobra standing in front of me. And I wanted to scream. I wanted to call on someone, and I felt like my tongue was totally numb. I couldn't use my tongue. So I
Mm,
had to listen to the snake speaking to me. And it was speaking to me in symbols. And I wanted to speak and I couldn't because I felt like someone was holding my throat. And I thought I'm going to die because I will not be able to breathe here. And I woke up from this dream and I was like, why would I dream of a snake wanting to kill me? And then during the day, somewhere around noon, it came to me. I started thinking very, very vivid thoughts about a question that I had before. And it had to do with how this reality is created because I was in the middle of writing my book and I had a problem that I wanted to go through, but I didn't understand how to solve it.
mm,
And I started writing and I wrote the entire chapter. It just came to me and I realized what it was. I talked too much and I listened too little. And that is what this snake was doing with me. It was saying, sit in silence, don't talk with everyone, just sit in silence and wait for the answers. And that's what I did. But it was a horrific dream. I thought I will die because this snake wants me, it doesn't want me to breathe. And it wasn't about breathing. Again, I was looking at what are the signs, the symbols, what are the items that stand out to me in this dream. And it was my tongue, and it was my throat, and it was a snake. A snake is usually some kind of knowledge, and tongue is about speaking. Throat is also about speaking, maybe a deeper truth. I needed to shut up and listen to my inner knowledge in order to write what I needed to write. So if we get stuck in the fear of the dream, we will never be able to unlock the gift that the dream brings. But if we do not get stuck in it, if we look at it from a perspective where everything is beneficial, where do I find the benefits in this dream? Then we can find the key to a question, a problem, something that we need solved.
yeah,
Otherwise, they are reoccurring dreams and maybe scare you
right.
many, many, many times until you look the fear in the eye and say, wait, I need to find out, what is this? Why am I dreaming this? Not becoming a victim and saying, I can't sleep at night because I have all these nightmares. Instead, asking, what are they telling me? What is it? What's the story that is being told here? What is my interpretation of it? And not go down a lane where you go, oh, this is horrible. Oh, this isn't good. Instead, looking from a beneficial perspective. What am I exploring in real life now? And how is this interpreted through this dream?
That's
It is.
fascinating.
Dreams are always fascinating, always.
You remind me, I had so, oh, dreams. I had a dream where I couldn't speak. It was my greatest fear. In fact, when I gave my TED talk, and I was scared I was going to be
Yes.
killed for giving that talk.
Mm-hmm.
For real, everyone listening, a real fear, not a dream, dream fear.
It
Uh,
was a real
in
fear, yes.
reality.
Yes.
Um, but you just tied. I just tied two things together. What you're saying. So in my late 20s, I had this dream nightmare. These aren't pleasant, but I was in the Oval Office with all these very powerful people, and I was in the room. And at the time, I'm in the Christian world, so I had the archetype of the Antichrist was in the
Mm,
Oval Office, and everyone was loving and just like worshiping it. And I knew who he was. He knew who I was, and I went to speak, and nothing came out, and I was terrified. I could not
mm,
speak, and I
mm,
woke up like my greatest fear was when it came time to speak,
mm,
nothing would come out. That's
mhm,
what I woke up with. And I'm tying it to that TED talk when after I did give that,
mm,
energetically, my whole universe shifted where I was no longer on the defensive. I was
mhm,
on the offensive. Not that I was uh, going after, but I was no longer on the defensive
mm,
and being afraid to speak, perhaps speaking and then being in
mm,
silence and listening. but knowing when to speak. Maybe that's the power. Maybe that's our real power, is listening and then speaking. I don't know. It's fascinating, but that you just reminded me of not being able to speak in a dream.
Yeah, and there you go. For you, it was more about seeing that you needed to speak,
Yes.
that you needed to go through that fear and speak, because it was a dream and it showed you the underlying frequency in your life, the antichrist, as you called it, because that could be the symbol of your father.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So going against that, and it showed you you can't speak as long as you're afraid of that, and there's nothing to be afraid of, actually. And then when you woke up, you could go through it and see that there was nothing to be afraid of. So it's kind of, like rehearsal
Yeah.
before you
Yeah.
do something in the real
Yeah.
world. It's like rehearsal. For me, this not speaking thing was actually shut up, do not speak, because I was speaking too much. I was trying to find the answer and I was asking everyone else. But what I needed to do, because it was my book, it was my thoughts, I needed to focus on what I thought about this, not what everyone else thinks. So it was like, shut up, be quiet, and listen to the thoughts that come from within. It was more like turn inward. For you, it was out. So you
Yeah.
see, you
Yeah.
can't say that if you dream that you can't speak, it is this. It's not, because it's an oracle. When you go to an oracle, the oracle will give you a word, and you and I can stand together, and I would find something else in that word, then
Yes.
you will. It will mean something else to me because it blends with my information field. So, of course, that's why it's so hard to write a dream book and say this is it. It's more elusive than that. It wants your presence and your awareness and your thinking and your communication. It has to be communicated. The communication between you and your higher self is private. It is very, very private. So
Yes.
I can't tell you what your higher self is telling you, and you can't
Right.
tell me.
Right.
And if I'm not open to what my higher self is saying to me, then who can be open to it? I mean, no one can tell me what it is.
Right.
So
Right.
openness, becoming more open to the information without the layers of fear, is how we communicate with our higher self. And using the dreams, I see dreams as a really, really intense tool, as a real tool to get to know who we are and to get to know what it is we're actually thinking in our awakened state. When we are awake during the day, it shows us if we're if we have an overactive ego, it will show us. I think that we have more nightmares when our ego is overactive, without a doubt. I
Yes.
know it
Yes.
for myself. It's like
Yes.
when I have been in fear or stressed out or not knowing what to do or in victimhood, during the night, my mind will give me hell because it tells me, jump out of this. You're in the wrong place right now. Start
Yes.
focusing on more of what you want instead of what you don't want.
Mm.
I, so I think just knowing this, that if you're having lots of nightmares, that means that you need to become a little bit more soft on yourself during the day. You need to become more kind to yourself. You need to become more soothing, more mindful, more present,
Yes.
allowing your soul to be present through you. Do it any way you can. If it is meditating, then meditate before you go to bed.
Right.
If it is just setting an intention, then do set an intention before you go to bed.
Mm.
Clean your bedroom, make your bed, open the windows,
Right.
let in new, fresh energies. Become intentional when you go to bed. Tell yourself that you want your soul presence, not your ego filters, to give you a landscape to explore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. That's so good.
That's it. It really can. I think it needs to be said 1,000 times in these times that we're living right now, because there is a lot of fear, collective fear going on everywhere. So just losing the fear during the night, because it won't help you anyway. I mean, what can you do while you're asleep? Why would you be in a fearful frequency? Going to bed in a high frequency will not, it will not produce as many nightmares as going to bed in a low frequency, without a doubt. Without a doubt, I think. Yeah.
You shared earlier the word trance, and I had this other dream last week where I was in a trance. I didn't realize I was in a trance. I just was approaching a counter in a hospital or a medical facility. And right when I got to the counter, I didn't realize it's like somewhere I could hear, like I knew I was there, but I was physically there until they were about to do what they were going to do to me. And I woke up and said, I don't want to be here. Wait, I don't want this. I don't want this. And I started to cry. And then they got angry and they said, then fine, take this. And on a piece of paper, it said that you are outcast of society. And I was like, I don't want to be an outcast of society. And I don't want to take this. And I woke up. But that trance state, I was like, well, have I been sucked into, am I hyper aware? Am I intentional right now? But I found myself in a building, not really aware until the last precipice moment. It's bizarre.
Yeah, the trance thing this is why every portal, it's called an entrance in trance. When you go through that portal, you go into trance. This is why when you, let's say that you are in a room and then you go outside of that room and you forget what you were thinking about, because every portal, it's like our brain shifts. So you have to go back in the room to pick up on what it was that you wanted to remember. And then you go through the entrance again with that, because you are aware of it. Your focus is on it. I think the dreams are portals. And when you enter a dream, you're in trance. And it will show you what it is that is your trance state. Every time we are in ego mode in the real world, the real in quotation marks, I'm talking about the world that we have co-created here, this co-created world we have, reality. Every time we go into fear, every time we believe in the evil stuff, so to speak, we are in trance. And when we go to bed, that's the portal, and we go in trance so that we will see what we need to cleanse, what we need to change, to see that there is a choice, because all these realities are your reality. And you can do whatever you wish with them. Use the tools that you have in order to tilt and pivot and do whatever you want with it so that it will align with who you are and what you want to explore here. Not everything is clear to us, and it shouldn't be, because we have a physical body and we do have a veil of forgetfulness. Otherwise we can't explore this world. But there is a choice. If it is too painful, if it is something that isn't working for you, your nightmares will show it to you, and you have a possibility, an opportunity to dial down the fear. I remember one thing, that when John Paul II, the Pope, yeah, you know which one, which Pope I'm talking about, when he died, he was dying, and his last words, his dying words were non paura, and that means do not fear in Italian. I was mind boggled by this. I was thinking, why would he say something like this? He was the Pope. I mean, why would he say something like this? I'm not a religious person. And yet this thing caught my attention so much. I was thinking, why would the highest religious person here say something like that? And the more I think of it, the more this is one of the best advices ever. Non paura, do not fear, is the best advice, because fear is a filter. Fear is a mask. Fear is the tightening of that veil so that you
Yes.
actually do forget who you are. And I think that not fearing is makes it easier for you to find out who you are. But if you believe in the fear so much so that you even believe in the fear in your dreams, then you need to kind of heighten your frequency during the day so that you will open up and see the real nature of fear, which is an illusion
Yes. Yes.
created here.
Hmm.
So
It's fascinating.
this this session or this Sunday live, we were going to talk about dreams, but it became more talking about nightmares because I feel like it's an important part of the dream world and
Yeah.
how to use the nightmares instead of being scared of them or allowing them to use you, because there's always this choice in
Yeah.
how you interpret it.
It's fascinating. There's a verse in the Bible that old men will dream, young men will have visions, and old men will dream dreams. And I always wonder why that's said
Mhm.
that way. But a vision is essentially a dream, but
Yes.
it's an intentional choosing and the awakening. And the
Hmm.
dreams, obviously, while we're sleeping, but both are realities that we get to play with.
Yes, they are, because imagination is the core of all creation.
Yes, yes, yes. So good.
What, yes,
So good.
we are creating this reality, this physical reality through our imagination. We are using our imagination to either project hell or heaven.
Mm,
And it's a question of how much soul you're allowing through, because if you give space to the soul here, then you will be co creating a heavenly world. Not a perfect world, but more kind, more
yes.
honest, more transparent. If we are in this ego mind, we will create a world that is more fear based, and our dreams will follow that naturally.
So how fascinating then that if young men dream or young men will have visions, that's the intent. That I
Yes.
what is the vision? What does success look like? What is the world that I
Mm-hmm.
want to create? And the old men reflect in the dream whether so that we are needing both these generational,
Mm-hmm.
we need the
Mm-hmm.
wisdom and the ambition and that middle ground to create
Yes.
maybe the balance of the old wise wisdom reflection coupled with what is the world that
Mm-hmm.
we really want to create? Do we want to create a world of fear and
Mm-hmm.
totalitarianism and
Mm-hmm.
compliance to state and no
Mm-hmm.
freedom, and or do we want to
Mm-hmm.
create a world of sovereignty and beauty and goodness in
Mm-hmm.
individual liberty and where, you know,
Yes. And respect
and
and
respect and
yes, absolutely.
boundaries and yes,
Yes,
this is really
absolutely.
fascinating. Yeah.
But you see, you can have a vision, but the dreaming that we're talking about is actually the question, where does this vision come from? Does it come from soul space, your heart, or does it come from ego mind? Some visions can come from ego if they are rooted in soul space.
Yeah.
All the images that we're projecting actually come from the ego. But it's a question of where are the roots to that image, and your dream will tell you where the roots are, because if you're having nightmares, then you are in a place where fear governs your life,
Mm,
and you need to understand the illusion of fear. This is why your dream state is showing you, look at this illusion, it is not real. Even if you die in this dream, you'll still wake up, you're
yeah.
here. So just understanding that and realizing where you come from or where your projections come from. This is why I say, for instance, that worry and daydream come from the same place. It is your imagination.
Yeah.
Why would you choose to worry if you can daydream. It comes from the same place. You're using a tool which is called your imagination,
Yes.
like the hammer we were talking about last Sunday. I mean, either you destroy things or you build things with it. And it's always your choice to stop and say, how am I using my mind right now? Where is my awareness? Is it in the right place? Why am I focusing on this? What makes me want to focus on fear? And sometimes it feels real and you need to get yourself out of there. So it's not that it is not real and you shouldn't react to it. But if you are dreaming nightmares, then there is something in your reality that you need to change, because fear is dominating your life. Either it is real fear, I mean, you live with someone who is abusing you, or it is an imagined fear where you're fearful of things that do not exist, but you see them anyway. So it's a question of becoming very much aware of where things come from.
Yeah.
Because your dreams will show it to you. Dreams are very honest in that sense. They will not lie to you. They will show you where your awareness is during the day.
It's true. It's true. It's so good. It's so good.
I think that to become more aware and to be able to use our dreams, we need to do some things before we go to bed. We need to become much more intentional there.
Yes.
And as I said, cleanse the room, open the windows, allow new energy in, set an intention that you want to explore beneficial things for you. Yeah. And even if it is a nightmare, then realize that it is a beneficial thing. You need to look at it, but just say, I want to explore beneficial things. I want to explore a landscape in my dream, which will help me grow in my consciousness. And I want to remember it when I wake up. This one is really important, because if you say so, you will remember it. It is your will. You will it into your memory, so to speak. So it will be detected and you will remember it if you say, I want to remember it. One more thing that I really need to share is that you should be using these things, put them on your bedside, and then start writing. I mean, most of the things that I write, some things might look like this, very nicely, neatly written. Other things might look like this, and I don't even know what it is. I woke up in the middle of the night and I have to write this down. This is so amazing. And I write it down, and then in the morning I can't read it because I don't know what it was. Wow. But still, I am allowing the information from my higher self in the spiritual realm to go through me during the night. And then if I put it on paper, before you know it, you can read what you wrote and you will know what the message is. Otherwise, you forget the message and then it becomes nothing again. But becoming more intentional, writing stuff down, keeping pen and paper beside your bed. And when you wake up, write it down, even if it is with no lights on and the wrong pen, it's okay. You write it up.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
I think that, we need to become more aware and use this tool. Right. We wouldn't have it if it wasn't beneficial for us. There is a beneficial side of this, and becoming more and more aware of what is it that I'm saying to myself. What is my higher self communicating to? Even if it is fearful, there is something for me there to look at and maybe dial down or dial up.
Yeah, that's great. And it makes us more whole to integrate ourselves in night and day. We're a whole person, and that soul is always speaking. And maybe the more we listen at the night, the more we listen in the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's speaking in a language, as I said, which is symbols. So no one else can tell you what it is about. You need to become more aware, of the oracle that you're carrying, and use the oracle. Don't doubt yourself. Just know that this is what it is. I mean, It's about two things, actually. It is, as in the baby dream that I had, it's about to look at the main symbols of the dream. So
Mm,
see the main components in the dream, and then take the one that stands out most for you and contemplate on it. What can this mean to me? And
right.
you will find the answers always.
It's beautiful. I've been fighting a sneeze this whole like, hope I don't sneeze. I'm sorry. But just so everyone knows, why is
Sneeze
he
if you
touching
want
his
to.
face so many times? I'm like, try not to sneeze. Um, as we wrap with these next 10 minutes or as much time as we have left, I think this would be a really good time when we can talk about what we have, you and I, coming out very soon, because all this dreams and memories and remembering leads to our wholeness, our healing, our freedom,
Yes.
our sovereignty.
Yeah.
So you want to share what we have coming out?
Yes, we're working on a course where we look at photos and go back in memories to find the inner child and to bring it into the now moment and heal together with the child. Uh, I think that our past is almost like dreams. We will remember the traumas, and we will use the traumas in this world in a way which doesn't allow us to open up and become whole. So
Mm,
what we're doing is we're going back, we're finding this little child, and we are finding the benefits, the golden nuggets in every single memory, so that we can heal in the now moment and open up to a
mm,
bigger reality, to a bigger consciousness here.
yes.
And I love what we have been doing. I mean, this course is going to be so enlightening for those who take it.
Yeah,
It has been enlightening for us to do it. It was really,
absolutely.
really cool. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it all dreams, memories, past, present, future, ego, soul, fear,
Mhm.
trust, it's all intertwined in this great weaving of our existence here. And
Ab- Absolutely. And it's all about the imagination that we use
yes, yes,
in order to remember stuff from our past or to project stuff into the future or to dream in our dream world. It's the imagination. We're using that all the time. So in this course, we're actually using our imagination when we look at photos to see the patterns and pathology that was inflicted upon us when we were children, and then how we can release ourselves from these bondages so that we can soar in the now moment, to release the patterns that are there. And it's not enough to forgive the perpetrators or the people that hurt us in our past. We actually have to understand the patterns that were created and the filters that these patterns create in our now moment, and how to release ourselves from those filters.
right.
I mean, we look at reality through filters all the time, but we can choose which filter we want to look at
Yes.
through. It's like, as we spoke about the dreams here,
Yeah.
if we choose to look at it, oh my God, it was a nightmare, I don't want to go there anymore, I don't want to remember it, well, then we're using the filter of fear, which will not allow us to expand.
Yes.
It's a given.
Yeah.
But if we say, wait, it was a fearful dream, but I'm alive and I'm here, it's like a bad memory. You're alive and you're here. Let's go and see where it leads us,
Mhm.
because it always turns out to be much worse in our imagination than it is in real life.
Yes.
Always,
Always. Always.
always,
Always.
always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so beautiful. This is a really beautiful Sunday live. Thank you for
Yeah.
thank you.
Uh, yeah. Thank you for sharing your nightmares. Not many people dare to share their nightmares, truly.
Well,
But
I'll
do
go
you
there. I'll go there.
Yeah, but do you know why they don't want to share it? Because it shows you the things that you actually need to look at and work on. And that would be to become vulnerable. If you share a nightmare, for me, sharing the babies that I saw falling off, I mean, it is to become
Well, yes,
vulnerable to
yes,
others, to show them, look what's going on in my mind.
yeah,
It is literally a projection of what is going on in your mind, the subconscious mind. So I thank you so much for sharing
yeah.
your nightmares.
And those were mild ones. I just kidding.
Okay, let's do the
Oh
worst, the
man, yeah,
horrible one.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's.
yeah.
I think one of the things that it's beautiful to do these Sunday lives is to show. I mean, my desire in my podcast in the opening is me sharing my journey, so you don't feel alone in your journey. Like if we,
Yes.
the vulnerability to share is such a. If we don't care about how people think of us or what people think of us, but we know that by sharing, they don't feel alone. They'll feel like,
Yes.
oh, that's where we can all, I think my desire for the world, my intention for the world is that we all
Mm,
understand that we are in this together in our vulnerability. We are in this together in our releasing the fear, not staying in fear and huddling
mm.
and forced togetherness,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
choosing that togetherness.
Absolutely. It's about compassionate respect for each other's diversity. This
Yes.
is what it is,
Yes.
to see all the facets of a human being, not see from a judging perspective, but to look from a perspective where we share in order for everyone to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is vulnerability, but it is also an enormous strength and
Yeah.
power to be able to do so.
Mm.
So it is beautiful. And this is why I think that these kind of conversations are important to
Yeah.
have, and to be able to show your vulnerability the way we did in these dreams.
Mm.
So I love it. Maybe there'll be more dream sessions here, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. I hope so. And maybe a vulnerability session of what that actually is and how we can practice more vulnerability, and perhaps not,
Yes.
and define it as not the openness to be hurt and weak, but reclaiming our strength and sharing apart from other people's energetic responses. This is me,
Mm,
my experience. And in that experience, I stand, and may you stand
mm.
in your experience.
Exactly. I mean, look at it this way: being vulnerable is being open to all that is. If
Mm,
that isn't strength, I do not know what strength is.
mm,
Being vulnerable is to be open to all that is.
mm.
Let's be vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for a beautiful live. Everyone, thank you for
Thank
listening.
you.
Anne, Sergey, Rose, Tara, who else was on? Reshma, Suresh. Thank you, everyone, and Jolen's. I think it's Jolen's. Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone, for watching, and we will see you again next Sunday.
Yes. See you again next Sunday, everyone.